Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to give it another minute or two to wait for everyone else. Oh, I see that people are still joining. So let's give it 1 or 2 more minutes. Hope everyone's doing really well today. While we're waiting, so for today, we're going to be doing live evaluations of your e-commerce websites to help you get them ready for the holiday season. So if you want to get a review of your site, I promise we're going to be very gentle. Just put the address of your website in the chat. Whoever puts the website first will be the first one in the queue. So first come, first serve. Okay. Great. We have some first volunteers. Amazing. Okay. So I think we're going to get started. So again, welcome everyone. My name is El Kochman. I am the CMO at Bywit, and I have today with me Nat McPherson, who is the Chief Growth Officer at Power Digital. And we are going to be talking today about how to turn your static e-commerce into a video commerce machine that converts more. So why now? I mean, obviously the holidays are coming up really fast. The holiday spend is expected to rise by 8% this year compared to last year. This is mainly due to the rise in e-commerce sales. So obviously e-commerce is becoming extremely important in your holiday shopping strategy. And then why video? Well, obviously because video converts more than static images. Research actually showed that it's 48% more. So this is why we're kind of gathered here today to help you with emptying your websites for the holidays. So Ned, before I give it to you, what do you say we'll do a couple of those websites that we already have in the chat and give them some optimization tips?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Looks like the first one here. If you want to pull the site up, we can look at maybe a mobile view of it. It's most certainly where the site's getting the predominant traffic. So to give everyone else just an introduction to myself, and thank you, Yael, for the intro. Ned, I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at Power Digital. We're about an 800 employee agency based out of San Diego. I'm based out of Miami, in which case we have 13 different divisions targeting all the primary digital marketing services, of course, paid media, paid search, conversion rate optimization. Frankly, I'm kind of best known. I had founded my own CRO agency in 2019. So it was called Endrock Growth and Analytics. Scaled that up to about 120 or so folks on my team before went through an acquisition. We were acquired by Power Digital at the tail end of last year. So brought my whole client book over, brought the whole team over, in a sense been affecting my model and CRO strategies within the ecosystem, of course, of Power's clients. So happy to dive in here. I'm going to be sharing a presentation a little bit later as to some recent experiments and A/B and multivariate tests that we've run pertinent to video on sites, which should be pretty impactful. But when we dive into this site right here, want to make sure the first thing I want to preface before we go into some of the visual recommendations is that the correct way to always dive into a CRO analysis is you always start with the data first, meaning diving into, for instance, Google Analytics, diving into whatever the predominant consumer interaction analytics platform that the brand uses to identify metrics on fire, opportunistic metrics, et cetera. The single biggest mistake that I see brands make with CRO is that they'll take a look at a site like the homepage you're seeing right here, and then they'll go look at a competitor site or maybe even a brand that's not competitive, but that's tangentially related. And they'll say, look at how they do their navigation. Let's try that. And that's a design-centric approach, which will get you into trouble if that's your predominant angle forward. The key to CRO is looking at your metric architecture and identifying where are you weak. Do you struggle getting people into a product page? Once they're in there, do you struggle getting them to add to cart, or you have really strong add to cart rates? Once they've added to cart, what's the elasticity, the propensity to get them through a cart experience into checkout? Do you get any price balking on checkout? These are all the areas that you need to identify metric first. So that all being said, let's dive in now because I know we don't have the analytics.
And the second mistake would be not to go look at the mobile first, right? That's
well, that would see that you'd find that right in the data. That's another thing. I'll see a lot of clients will be like, hey, let's look, and they'll pull up their desktop. It's like, you're 90% mobile. Why? We're already off on the wrong foot, right? So you're exactly right, which is why I wanted to look at mobile here. I'm assuming, and the owner of this brand could verify, I'm assuming that this brand is predominantly mobile centric, but certainly could, verify if that's accurate or not. But this being said, the first thing I'm seeing here right out of the gates, if you want to just scroll up to the top, because I notice you're scrolling down, one thing I want to be very clear with everyone as to traditional and predictable patterns of what new users are going to do on your site. One thing they will not do is they don't scroll down much. So when you're going to find on a first visit from a new user, a lot of times we fall into this belief system, unfortunately, that users will land, they'll read nicely, they'll scroll down gently, they'll absorb all this beautiful content as to value propositions, authority callouts, what makes you different from the competitor, price considerations. And then once they're fully educated, they'll proceed nicely into collection page. Unfortunately, new users are way more spastic than that. They'll move immediately into collection page. They won't read your USPs. They'll skip right over reviews. And what I've found is, generally speaking, the maximum scroll depth you're going to get out of a new user is like one frame below the fold. So what Yael has on her screen right now, if you scroll down just a little bit further till those stars are at like the top, that right there, sobering reality, is probably the maximum scroll depth you're going to get out of most new users. So it's like, we got to jam a lot of content into a very truncated window to tell the user, who are we, what do we offer, why us, and most importantly, to whom are we for, right? So that's a big consideration there. So right out of the gates, I'd say the site has got a lot of room for what's called multivariate experimentation, where we'd want to move a lot of different assets around, create a dozen or 24 different permutations of the homepage into like different hierarchical order of assets to figure out which one's actually empirically going to, drive the most amount of people into a collection or a product page. So right out of the gates, that's one thing to take into consideration. And if you don't mind scrolling to the top, I love what I
just love the images here, right? I mean, they're so engaging. The fact that you have like big images and you can clearly see the product, but you can also see the kind of like the setting around the product. It's not just the product itself, but what kind of feeling is it supposed to give you when you get the product?
Yeah, good point there. One thing I would say, though, is do keep in mind that the majority of people who visit a site at any given time are going to be brand new, which means I know you're shopping your new Christmas nostalgia collection you have here. However, keep in mind there might maybe be a good A/B test there to run a more evergreen, all-time bestseller style image versus the holiday window. Because remember, you can still hit your existing customers in your lead list with email and drive them to a dedicated LP, but your predominant site is usually going to be a new user. So to put your best foot forward there, you may want to consider things that are non-necessarily seasonal and that are actually more specific to what your all-time best-selling hero image is or product offering is. Couple other things I noticed here is right out of the gates, a second thing I want to share is, what do new users do when they land on sites? What I've found, and honestly, I've worked with over 1,000 brands over the years, run almost 7,000 experiments. By and large, new users will not engage with a hero CTA as their first click. They will go to a hamburger menu click. So if you don't mind clicking on the hamburger menu, this is actually the view most new users are going to experience on their first engagement. So first thing, right out of the gates, is we've got a hamburger menu here that's missing one critical element, in my opinion, which is immediate toggling to bestsellers. Having bestsellers navigation right out of the gates is an excellent way to get people just engaged in the site to figure out, what are you known for? It's a great social proof mechanism, right? So they can still have the autonomy to navigate here with different products, different collections, et cetera. But having a bestsellers and a new arrivals right there, maybe in red, get a lot of visual highlight, is going to get more people engaged. And just, again, at this stage in the funnel, all we care about is just getting them into a product experience. That's the only consideration that we care about at this step. So that would be an immediate recommendation I'd say is likely going to improve. And if you click on products, this is helpful here. I'd also love to know a little more information. Remember, I'm a naive new user. I don't know anything. Are impact cases your best sellers? Maybe folio cases are new arrivals, or AirPod cases have some products that are running low on inventory, meaning use little corner treatments to highlight other things I may need to know about some of these collections, or maybe to whom are they for? Great gift ideas. Our #1 gifted product, folio cases, now that we're going into the holiday window. Use little visual cues here to educate me, the naive user, a little bit more so I can make a decision faster. One other thing I want to mention, if you don't mind just going back to the homepage really quick here, is if you click there, yeah, one thing is your ribbon that you have. So you see at the top here, that scroll where it says new, discover our Christmas nostalgia collection. I love that you have that, but here's a challenge. And go ahead, Yell, if you don't mind just scrolling down a little bit. Notice how when she does that, the ribbon disappears. So one of the things you're going to find is new users move really quickly. And we actually ran an A/B test to prove this out on a brand where we had a ribbon, just like this site has, and we tested putting a click to activate coupon code, right? Like we just handed a discount away to users. And what we found is that when we made the ribbon sticky, meaning it stayed fixed to the top of the screen, it got almost twice as much coupon engagement. So even when
But they do have this sticky thing in the corner, in the bottom corner, the extra 10% off. So you're suggesting that it should be on top and not at the bottom.
Well, you could have both, but whatever the ribbon is, the point being is that any ribbon, you're not going to get nearly the education absorption if it's not sticky. Meaning right now, it's not a sticky element. Sure. New users start moving their thumb like, I mean, really, really quickly. So if you really want a user to digest whatever the information is, doesn't have to be discount, could be like you're doing right here, you know, a new nostalgia collection, make sure that ribbon is sticky and you're going to get a lot more visibility out of it and thus a lot more education, if you will, like absorption of that education for users. So, you know, again, caveat, I don't have your data. I can't validate if homepage, mobile intrafunnel rate is even your issue, but those are some, you know, ideas right off the rip, just thinking that would likely improve the user experience. But before we go into collection and product pages, anything you want to add there, Yo?
Nope.
Cool. So let's go into, maybe click on the hamburger menu. And then, because this is like products, let's go to like folio cases. So now we're going to get into a PLP. Okay, so we start scrolling down. Can you rotate the imagery here? No. Okay, so first thing I'd say is have rotating imagery on this PLP. Anything fashion, accessory, etc., as you can imagine, is, you know, because like the utilitarian function of this product is pretty obvious, right? It's a protective element for someone's iPhone, as an example. So it's really all about the design in this case. So looking at this, I would suggest having rotating imagery on that PLP is...
Or you can actually use a video instead.
There you go. Love it. Yeah, perfect. All right. So that's funny you mentioned that, because one of the slides that I do have later is about exactly that, where we built a video into the collection page, right? And that actually got a predominant increase in the add to cart rate, which frankly actually leads me to my next recommendation. You should have add to cart functionality on this PLP.
Definitely.
Don't force the user into a PDP. You may immediately...
Definitely. I mean, it's a pretty simple product. If I like the design, I don't necessarily, I mean, I see the price, I see the design. I don't necessarily need another step to go into the product page. I just want to be able to add this to the cart and check out. So
yep,
make
exactly right. Yeah, add to cart functionality on PLPs are I mean, one of our most like consistently successful wins. Here, I mean, right out of the gates, let's say, is there any way we could have more imagery? Remember, I'm a naive user. Like, why is this case protective? Like, tell me more. Is there a special material you use? Is there like a reinforcement on the edges? Beyond just the aesthetics of it, maybe have an infographic here that has little call outs to show that this product has XYZ engineering that went into it that, again, beyond the aesthetic appeal, is going to be hyper protective. Another one right out of the gates, go down, if you could scroll down to the add to cart button, is what I have found over the years is the biggest...
By the way, I love that the add to cart button is sticky. That's something that you don't see in a lot of websites. And I think it's really important, because once you scroll down and you want to see more information, you're kind of losing that add to cart and you're less likely to click on that.
Yep. I do like that. Absolutely. We do have a little issue there where the extra 10% off is covering the app. We want to create a dynamic element there where it hides that corner feature when it's scrolling, but you're absolutely right. If you scroll down to the static add to cart button, here's one to consider. So keep in mind, like what holds people back on PDPs? Generally speaking, two big psychological reasons. Number one, pretty obvious. How much does it cost? You answer clearly. Second, not as obvious. When am I going to get it? So the recommendation here would be an order by, receive by feature, especially at this time of year. Because think about it, we are getting into holiday seasons, which means there is a clear line in the sand of which someone needs a product by, whether it's for themselves, they're going to gift it to someone else, they're going to a holiday party, a family party, whatever it is. So letting people know you could order by today, Thursday, what is it, the 7th, and you could have it by, I don't know, next Monday to Wednesday. But an order by, receive by feature around that add to cart is likely gonna boost your ATC rate here.
My only addition here is as well on product pages, it's really important to have engaging videos. If you can even have, and we'll talk about it in a bit, if you can have a video with an actual person talking about the product, showing the product, then that's ideal. And we can see an example of that in a bit.
Yeah, and Yael, I would even go as far as, you're right, is landing the user on the video. Honestly, we've done that on a few jewelry brands, especially where we land, like the actual first image block is a video and auto plays for the user. So in your case, like you're right. I think start with the video, and then maybe instead of that infographic I mentioned, do a video with the call out, so it's like animated. That would be a really interesting feature there, and I think a good investment for this brand as to to get an animator to do that on a video. So.
Okay, so I think we need to move on. So Ned, thank you guys for putting all of your websites on the chat. We'll continue now with some tips from Ned, and then we will do another website or two. So if we haven't done yours yet, don't give up. I promise we'll get to everyone by the end of the hour. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and then you can share your slides, Ned.
Okay, super. Great. Quick status. Everyone can see my screen okay? Yael, can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, super, awesome. So as mentioned, obviously there's 1,000,001 conversion tactics that exist out there. Video, as you can imagine, gets a lot of predominance in terms of its effectiveness, right? So there's a lot of different ways to use video at different stages of the website, as we kind of alluded to before. Now, obviously, a lot of the nature of today's conversation is going to be around shoppable video, right? And kind of the interactive element of allowing users to see more than just a standard UGC, but can actually engage with a video to educate their purchase decision. So here's an example of a recent experiment here I want to share. This is a good sized brand in the e-commerce space where we started to build in shoppable video content right onto the PDP, create a much more dynamic, engaging experience. To kind of just synthesize this down for you, first thing to note is that this had a much better success rate on mobile than it did on desktop. So in a lot of cases, when you look at A/B testing, as a quick digression on a generality, you can't just assume a test is going to win for all users, all devices, all browsers all the time. A lot of times A/B tests are more specific, like mobile only or return users only, or has a predominance towards organic search, but not so much paid media, or maybe the inverse, or maybe male versus female or whatever, right? So in this case, it was predominantly and pretty universal around mobile. The results in this case of creating a shoppable video feature on PDP created an immediate at statistical significance markers of a 6% lift in conversion rate, which translated into a site-wide 3% lift in ARPU, which stands for average revenue per user. Now, 3% may sound modest. However, keep in mind that in this case, that translated to over $15,000 a month for this business with what was a relatively easy experiment to run. So in this case, there are angles where you can use shoppable video, dynamic video content, et cetera, in different areas of the site that will create immediate return on investment. And when I say return, not even like break even, like substantial return on investment. So right out of the gates, you can see this with some of the conversion funnels. I mean, when you factor in we use Bayesian modeling when we do this. So when you factor in the different confidence intervals, stat sig markers, et cetera, it was pretty much a win from the get-go and carried on from that point. Slight win with desktop, but not statistically significant. So we didn't end up moving it there. Now, similar is PLP, and Yael did a good job referring to this earlier when we were looking at the collection page. On some sites, this isn't universal, but on many of your sites, you absolutely want to experiment with more dynamic video in the collection page. Tends to boost engagement rates. And what I can tell you right now is if you have add to cart functionality on the collection page, especially on mobile, and a video, that's a good 1-2 punch. In other words, if you have video without add to cart, I haven't seen as big of an impact. So oftentimes the prerequisite to making video work really well on a collection page on mobile is giving people the ability to add to cart from mobile PLP. So here, as you can see, is a pretty substantial win, right? Now, in this case, this was a jewelry brand. This brand saw a really nice uptick in terms of not only the conversion rate for the variant, but also the revenue per user in this case, which was up almost 9%. Now, the reason why the revenue in this case is up about 7,200 monthly is because this site drove a predominant amount of their users from an ad click into a PDP. So their collection pages actually didn't get that much traffic compared to the site-wide average. Nonetheless, conversion optimization is still all about getting wins wherever you can, right? No matter where the site is. So in this case, pretty substantial win on both conversion rate and on ARPU per user. You can also see here, and from a linear basis, when it goes live, and you're going to notice all sorts of like really bizarre data in the beginning here. This is normal. This is classic stat sig issues, which is when you first launch a test, and I'm digressing a little bit here, don't be dismayed if you see things going like this. That's totally normal. It's even normal to see a base or a variant jump way out into the lead, and then they come collapsing back. When you're in your first 1,000 users, 2,000 users, you're going to see wonky data. So don't get alarmed at like, oh my God, this feature is definitely not going to work or is going to work. Don't get too emotionally attached to the results too early, because as you see over time, it starts to even out, and then you start to get very clear deltas here as to what is the higher performer, in this case, the variant, including the video. And then classic example of this too is, videos on homepages, right? Or any landing page, right? So of course, getting into video now, in this case, this was an interesting one that's very relevant to what Yael is going to be talking about, because the hero video on the landing event here wasn't just like a general, hey, here's who we are as an eComm brand. It was very specific to their hero product, with not a quite shoppable video, but basically shoppable, because you could just click the CTA on the hero. And that was one of the biggest wins that we've seen year to date. And so, and you can see in this case, a massive revenue per user lift, a massive conversion rate lift. I mean, going from an ARPU of 1037 to 1257 in this case was, that's a dramatic increase, right? And you can kind of see the numbers speak for themselves here. So what it did is ultimately educated users a lot more on their landing event. The engagement rates improved, the engagement times improved, the bounce rates decreased, the progression rate of landing event into the product experience were way up. And then naturally, all the follow-on metrics followed suit. Better add to cart rates, better checkout to transaction rates. And so just a couple quick snapshots as to more recent experiments that we've run that are tied in and tethered with video as to why it's doing so well. Of course, I think everybody intuitively know video tends to do better than static, but to the degree of which you can properly place the video and use dynamic elements like shoppable video are going to be, consistent with how well those tests perform for you. So yeah, let me kick it back to you. I'm going to stop sharing here if you want to pull your screen back up.
Sure. So we actually have, and thank you, Ned, for this. This is, you said it in the beginning, you have to start with data. So I think that's enormously helpful. So Brooke is asking, how do you handle the customizable options if you have the ATC on the shopping pages?
Yep, great question. So I should say this, when a good developer should be able to build in what are called variable drawer inputs on an add to cart functionality, right? So when you are on a mobile device and you click add to cart on it, a drawer should pop up for size selection, color selection. Maybe if you're a CPG brand selling a nutraceutical flavor variants. We've even done it with upwards of 3 different drawers. So you click add to cart, drawer pops up, you select color, whatever, second drawer pops up once that's selected. So it's all dynamic, and that's totally functionally doable on a collection page. So 100% collection pages are supportive of variable inputs, and it's called drawer functionality. That's how it works. So happy to share examples of that on different sites that do it at any time. But yeah, that's totally doable.
So let's do another site before we continue. So should I show this on mobile as well?
Yeah, I would, again, I don't have the data, but I would assume, go to inspect. I would assume 100% that this is mobile centric.
Well, this is already a bit, crowded, right? Yeah, we minimize this, close this. Okay, now we can see the website.
So do you mind really quick, do you mind just clicking on the hamburger menu? How many products are we looking at here? And just do the drop down on shop. Is this a pretty product heavy site? Yes, it is. Okay. So one thing I loved about what the last brand did with the phone cases, did you notice they had this beautiful dynamic carousel on the mobile navigation? I don't know if you still have that site up. Can you, yes, there it is. Do you see right here where it says custom cases impact case? They have the visual where AL is highlighting, and then above the hero image, do you see where they have the scrolling left to right? Right there. And I bet you can click and scroll that.
Yeah.
Right. So hold on, just click and navigate. Yeah, exactly. Do you see that? That's great navigation tactics. So the thing I would say here is going back to the hair care site is I would absolutely take inspiration from that. Don't hide your navigation entirely behind the hamburger menu. Allow users the ability to one-click navigate from ideally a visual dynamic carousel right there, but at minimum, just like you saw on the last site, at least a text-based carousel. There's some users are still going to use a hamburger menu, but it's like, why hide it? Like, you know what they're looking for. You know, we're trying to get them to collection. Why hide that behind a hamburger? Put it front and center right there. So I would
put the top categories, right? Maybe not everything.
Yeah, exactly. Bestsellers, new arrivals, and then exactly what you said, using data. What are your top, exactly what y'all just said, collections based on propensity to convert, and make that your senior most navigation. Virgin since 2007. I love the value props here, free shipping, easy return. That's all excellent. The video's dynamic. That's nice. You may even want to consider putting the video actually as the hero versus the below the fold. Note, again, once just going back to it, once you get to kind of where yellow is right here, maybe a little lower, that's pretty much your homepage. So keep in mind, most people aren't going to make it much further than that. So when you're getting hypercritical of your homepage, that's pretty much the real estate you're working with right there. So like that block of copy underneath the new Lotus collection, my concern with that block of copy is users are really lazy on Fortune sites. They don't read. They rarely read. And I have a general rule of thumb that if you've got more than 3 lines of copy on a paragraph block, people will skip over it. So it's good copy and you probably want to keep it for SEO. I'd move that copy way down and move more visuals up higher because people probably aren't going to read that. What else do we have here? Let's go
to one of the PLPs.
Yeah, so custom wigs gray hair. Another thing is I'd love corner treatments here. Tell me, like, what do most people do? Are you really known for your straight hair products, your gray hair, your custom, et cetera? Like, what do most users do? You likely have a predominant path that most users are going on. Tell me that, right? There's a common misconception in web that, like, let's give users autonomy and let them figure it out. I strongly advise against that. You tell me what you want me to do. And then from there, I'll figure it out on my own, right? So tell me to go into a bestsellers page, say, hey, our custom wigs is our most popular, check it out. Even if that's not what I'm here to shop for, you guiding me initially through the site always outperforms and giving me full autonomy there. So, but go ahead and click on any one of these. We can kind of dive in from there. Curly hair. Okay, so let's scroll. Okay, hold on. Interesting. So insider membership, you have a membership program. That's big. I have a lot I can talk to there, but let's get back to that in one moment. But that was really interesting. Can we scroll down a bit?
By the way, again, there's quite a lot of text here on the top, which should probably be moved further down.
Yeah. Is there multiple imagery here? Or is it just, okay, so right out of the gates, multiple, I mean, you already heard multiple imagery. That's not a mobile optimized pop right there. That is a desktop pop that's been minimized down to mobile. So you can see, look at the tiny font on it. It's like virtually.
There's no way I can read this.
Yeah. So I would make sure that's a responsive pop. Multiple imagery here. Again, especially something like this, which is entirely aesthetic. This is beauty. This is vanity. People need to see multiple images of that. So definitely would show multiple imagery. Add to cart functionality once again. See how you have sold out. Sorry, just go back really quick.
Yeah.
I love that you have the corner treatment there where it said sold out. That's helpful, but let's go further. Again, tell me which one of these is a bestseller. Maybe which one of these, like, here's a good idea. How do we induce scarcity? Tell me which one of these is likely to sell out. So that way I feel the pressure. You know, airline sites and hotel sites are really good at this. You always see them say stuff like 3 seats left at this price, right? Yeah. Classic behavior.
Or, 20 people are just looking at this product now.
Right. So the classic behavioral psychology tactics to induce what? Urgency and scarcity. So you can do the same thing here. So educate me more. If this top left right here, the curly hair extensions, is that a bestseller? Tell me that. Is that a new arrival? Is that an all-time fan favorite? Is that likely to sell out? Like, keep selling me like the human conversation would if we were together in a store.
And I think, again, from a video perspective, if I were to see this woman actually move around and how the hair moves, I think that's tremendous, a lot more than a static image, which doesn't really tell me anything about how it would look like in real life.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agreed.
Let's continue to the product page.
Yep. I'd say once again, video here. You basically just landed me on the same image I was just looking at. So a little redundancy there. I'd much rather see a new image or at minimum like a video there. Video would be great. Yeah, absolutely. Now, hold on.
I say the add to cart button is very, very low. You should have it on the top of the screen. And then, if you can make it sticky like we saw on the previous website, then that's ideal.
Yeah. Your reviews, I'm a little concerned on here, and just to tell you why. So how users interpret this when they read this often is you have 60 reviews and they're all 5 stars. Everything's perfect. So it's like, again, I know that's crazy. We know that's not the reality. Make sure you just show the average rating. So it's like 60 reviews, 4.9, right? Or 4.8, whatever. Be specific about that. Otherwise, users tend to think it's disingenuous. So small update there.
It's also very crowded. So you see a lot of numbers here, 60 reviews, 179, 152, 7, like there are a lot of numbers in very close proximity. I just want to know how much it costs and, what's going to be the price that I'm going to pay. And it's quite overwhelming.
Yeah. Also, I would agree with that statement that the available for orders between $1 and $2,000 next to Afterpay is likely information you can just hide behind the I. See how you have the I next to the 2,000?
Yeah.
I would just hide that. I'm also a little confused here because we have Affirm and Afterpay. Why do we have both? That to me seems a little odd. I'd question if we need both of that. I'd save space there. I understand that we want to have like a buy now, pay later model, but it seems a little redundant to be showing both of those. Here's another. Okay, so you have variable input. You have 10-inch, 12-inch, 14-inch, etc. Tell me more. What's most popular there? Also, are any of those likely to sell out? So you can use that same tactic here, like 16-inch, maybe that's your best seller, and that sells out a lot. Highlight to be like will sell out, limited availability, things like that. You can use little corner treatment elements there to boost the propensity for me to check out. Same thing, order by receive by feature. Definitely need an order by receive by feature here without question to let users know when they can expect to receive that product right on PDP. Go ahead, Yo.
So I think we need to move forward because we have a lot of websites still here on the chat. I hope these tips were useful so far. I mean, at least I learned a few new things. So we're going to continue with the rest of our content for today. And then we're going to do a couple of more websites. So stick with us. So we established that, going back to video, we established that video converts more than static ads, but then it's not just regular videos because it happens to be that ads that are featuring faces or images featuring faces or videos featuring faces increase attention by 92%, which makes sense. Obviously, we're all people. We like to connect with other people. More than that, Gaia and I did a research today on Tabula's platform. If you're not aware of it, Tabula is an ad platform on publisher websites, and they actually tested in different industries the difference between an ad with a person image in it and an ad without a person. And you can see, according to different industries, beauty, fashion, food, it's across the board. It might vary between, we see here in beauty, there is 13% uplift in conversion if the image has a person in it, right? If we're talking about food and beverage, it's 500% increase. That's, enormous. So it's not just about images. It's not just about videos. It's about having a person that increases trust, increases the level of authenticity. So here comes Bywid, and I'm not going to talk a lot about Bywid today because that's not what we're here for, but just to give you the context of what we're doing, Bywid is a video commerce platform. So we help you use video to convert more. And while you might be thinking, yeah, but video takes a lot of resources to produce, so that's exactly what we're trying to solve. But before we dive into that, I want to talk a little bit about KPIs, right? Because we're not doing what we're doing just for the sake of having a beautiful website. We want to get results. And if you know, in previous years, marketers were busy thinking about engagement rates and brand awareness. Today, KPIs are moving more towards things like ROI, return on ad spend, return rate, things like that. So, you know, there are a lot of KPIs here on the slide. If everyone can just pick one KPI, which is for you, for your role, that's the most important KPI, and put it in the chat. And we'll go back to that in a few minutes and see. We're kind of trying to do a survey and see what are the most important KPIs for you guys on the call today, so that we can take that into account. So when we're talking about shoppable videos, there are actually two types of shoppable. There are a few types of shoppable videos, right? So there is the shoppable video that's on your website or on your marketing campaigns. And then in addition to that, there is the one-to-one live commerce. So it's definitely not for every website, but if your product is more of a complex sale, a higher price tag, you might want to have a widget that allows people to ask for a video consultation so that they can get more information, more personalized information about your products. And obviously that increases conversion rates much higher. I mean, think about the fact that when you go to a store, there's actually a salesperson there that can help you and give you all the information. You want to be able to give them the same experience on the website. So that's a great way to do that. So we touched upon KPIs. What we're seeing on our platform is just amazing in terms of the comparison between standard e-commerce experience. Conversion rates are usually around 1.5, 2%, maybe 2.5% at most. With video commerce, you can see it go up until maybe 21%. We see ROAS between 5 to 15x. Engagement rate, obviously, and the most interesting thing we see is that it also impacts on returns. So if you get more information about the product, if you can see in a video what the product looks like in real life, it actually reduces the returns to anywhere between 3 to 6%, depending obviously on the product and industry. So where would you use those videos? So you can use them on your own website. We talked about it a little bit, and I'm going to show you an example here. So just to see what videos look like on websites. So you can use them in category pages, PLPs. You can use them maybe as a strip of videos that people can scroll between. It's really important.
Going to turn around that cell.
It's really important, as Ned said, to add that add to cart or view product call to action to your videos. So that's one way to do it. And then you can also basically add them into your product pages as well. So here you can see that video in the corner. You can also lend them directly on the video.
If you are someone who has
but it's really important to add that video into the product page so that when people get there, this is where the intent is the highest. So you want to be able to give them that visual information. And it's not just about showing a video of a product, it's showing a video of somebody talking about the product, explaining, showing what the product can do for the customer. We also talked about home pages, so applying those videos on your homepage. You can make them sticky or in any other way that you choose to increase conversion from here. So that's on the website. But then you can also take those shoppable videos and you can use them on paid ads. So we've tried that with some of our customers to take those shoppable videos and basically use them on different marketing campaign, meta ads, and so on. The way that we are helping our customers is basically our platform allows to cut any long form video into very short shoppable snippets. We use AI to do that. So it's, you can basically use it to create content at scale. You have the opportunity to either create the videos through our platform or to come with videos that you already have, upload them to our platform, and then our AI is going to cut them into short shoppable snippets, optimize them, add subtitles and everything else. And then you can, with the click of a button, you can either push them to your website or push them to your marketing campaigns. A few more tips to help you convert more with video. So the first tip is you have to make your videos authentic. So, people can see right through salesy content. If you have someone sitting in a studio and reading from a script, they'll see right through it. We highly recommend to use really authentic content to find presenters for your video that actually like the product and they can speak on behalf of the product to show enthusiasm and to really share the experience of how they're using the product. The second tip is keep it short and snappy. So as I said, long form video doesn't work anymore. People have really short attention spans. So this is why we enable our customers to take those long form videos and cut them into short snippets. It can be anywhere between like 20 seconds to 1.5 minutes. That's the maximum capacity. Then it's really also important to select the right presenter for your video. So it can be a company employee, it can be a partner of yours, an expert, it can also be a creator. But then when you're working with creators, it's really important to verify that they're connected with your brand, right? If you are using a creator that usually sells sport shoes and things like that, and your product is more luxury, then it's probably not going to be the right fit. Their audience is not going to be engaged. And the people on your website are going to see that something is not fitting here. So that's another important element to check. And then whenever you're doing video, you need to make sure that you actually have a call to action. Like Ned said before, don't trust people to figure it out. You need to tell them what they need to be doing, right? So on our videos, you actually have the opportunity to add this want button in the middle. So when people see the item, they can just click on that want button and add the product to the cart. And last but not least, go multi-platform. So through Bywit, you can actually host live shopping events directly on your website to bring people into that event and give them that social experience of shopping together on video. But then don't just settle for doing that on your own website. You can multi-stream that live shopping event onto social media as well at the same time. So that increases the exposure and gives you a much larger audience to be interacting with. Last but not least, I want to share this case study of how we were working with a leading US retailer to use those shoppable short video content on Meta ads. So what we did is basically the brand ran a few live shopping events. Each of those live shopping events lasted about 30, 40 minutes, and they were showcasing between 20 to 30 different products on the same live event. But then after the event, our AI took the content from the event and cut it into short snippets. We then took those snippets and we created meta ads out of them. Since we had a lot of content, we could easily A/B test between the different snippets and recognize very, very quickly which were the ones, which were the products, which were the presenters that were best performing, and double down on those. So it was a combination of really authentic content and the opportunity to do multi-level A/B test tests, after a few weeks of optimizations, as you can see, the first few days, we only had about 49% ROAS. That's not really great. But then by week 3, we were already profitable. And by the last week of this campaign, we actually managed to get to 1,500% ROAS. So we were at that point, we were spending $600 a day, making $10,000 in sales. So that's just one case study to give you an example. So with that, I think we're gonna go see the next website that we have here. And this one is about home decor.
Yeah, this one home decor often does lean a bit more desktop centric, by the way, let's still look at mobile, but this one I'm guessing has a bit more desktop usage. A lot of our home decor clients, especially larger elements, people buying furniture, things of that nature, gets a lot of desktop. As you can imagine, the images are easier to see. There's still this interesting behavior, by the way, on the web where like the more expensive the purchase, the more predominant it is to be desktop. I don't know exactly why that is. People maybe just feel a little more confident on a desktop device with a really large purchase, but something to note there.
No, I have to admit, it's the same for me. I mean, fashion, shoes, beauty, I buy on mobile, but when it's home, I think maybe because your home is big, right? So you're trying to visualize how the product is going to look like in your home. You want to see it on a big screen.
Yeah. And this one, we may want to do desktop as well as mobile, but I mean, just right out of the gate. So I'm seeing one thing here is at the bottom, there's a sign up and save with an image on the left, and right under it, it says no rating available, 0 stars. You see that in the bottom left right there? Yeah, the very bottom left of the screen, very bottom left. Yeah. So, oh, it still says no rating available. That's a little odd. Whatever that is definitely going to throw users for a loop.
Maybe it's because of the inspection. Let's go back to
could be
desktop. Yeah.
Still seeing it there.
Yeah.
In any event, maybe just a broken element. But so let's scroll down here. One thing is, can you hover over these images? Okay. Yeah. So once again, one thing that you've got to know with home decor that's critical is frame of reference, not to use the term frame, but literally frame of reference, meaning you need images to show how large are these. I know it's showing like 0.875 inches as an example there, or 3.125. Most users are like, they're not understanding what that means, right? So you've got to show multiple images here to show comparison. Is this like a table side frame? Is this something that would go on the wall? So by the way, an easy way to do this is with a quick video to show this frame in a actual home decor setting so that you can literally see it and have a frame of reference. So
maybe it's in the product page.
Yeah, do they have it on the product page? It's okay, that's a little better. See how you get a little better understanding there? It's still, that's not ideal, to be candid, but it's better for sure. So giving people an understanding of size, right, is really, really important. In this case, if you want to go back before we get into the product page.
Yeah.
Okay, details. Again, curious why you can't necessarily add to cart from here. If that's an experiment you've run and haven't found, doesn't tend to work as well on desktop, by the way, as it does on mobile, but worth noting there. Fresh new frame styles, frames customers love. Okay, so that's a bestseller call out. I love that you've done that. You don't need a home navigation, by the way, at the top. Pretty much every user on the web knows intuitively you can just click on the logo in the top left. That's just not needed to have home there. I'd much rather you have like bestsellers or what's selling fast right there. Also, each of these I would have drop down. So instead of just single frames, have that as a drop down where you could see, like, again, most popular or best-selling single frames, likely to sell out, new arrivals, whatever, just giving me some other navigation hierarchy there.
But I do like that, they put their top categories here, but then everything else is in a drop down.
Yeah. Oh, there's bestsellers over to the right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that. That's good that you have it, but I mean, I didn't even see it, put it that way. So yeah. I'd move that for sure over to the left and replace where home is. Absolutely. Yeah, the owner of the site's probably like, I have it right there. But that's good. Interesting. Do you have a
By the way, they did say in the chat that they have 73% of their traffic is desktop.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Everything else categories. Okay. Let's go back into collection page, maybe into a product page.
Let's go to the bestsellers.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So Stratton frames 4-piece set.
Okay, so here we have floating images.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
And then there's a quick view and compare.
Yeah, that's an excellent feature. I like that a lot. Still don't have quite of a frame of reference as to the size of these, but like in terms of like the actuality of size and what it would look like on a wall or on a table, but that is better for sure that you have hovered imagery there.
Again, I think that's something that would be very easy to amplify with video. If you have someone that you see that person come and put the frame somewhere, or just acknowledge, people gathering around the picture, and anything that can add that authenticity into showing the product and what it's going to look like in a real life environment.
Yeah, exactly. The review stars here, by the way, are super arbitrary. You're just kind of showing a random 5-star on every product. I have no understanding of how many, what the average rating is. So would definitely either just remove that feature or make it helpful to show the number of actual stars you have, because it can't be a perfect 5-star on every product all the time, right? Better here where you show that this has 8 reviews, but again, what that's telling me is it's 8 reviews and they're all 5 stars, which given it's only 8 might be the case, but if it's anything less than 8, show me the average rating, right? Really, really helpful. Okay, here's one. See in the top right where it says fast shipping, ships in 2 business days? Here's what I found. Users, and I'm going to be really blunt, users don't really care when you ship it. They only care about when they're going to get it. And if anything, it actually might hurt you, because I know this is crazy, but users think everyone's Amazon, which is I order and immediately you ship it 30 seconds later. Obviously, that's not the case, but we have Amazon to thank for that. So I actually would say that actually might be hurting you a little bit, that it takes you 2 business days just to get the product ready to ship. I would strongly move away from that and just talk about when when the user can expect to receive it. You can do this dynamically based on IP address. You can do this based on just general window. So it'll be like, next Wednesday to Friday or whatever, but that's really, really important there. Free shipping 2 to 5 business days. That's helpful. You can keep that. You have it redundant, ships within 2 business days underneath the avail. Here's another one. Availability in stock. Users assume all your products in stock all the time. Again, users are very, very rigid with these things. They have very little tolerance. And so I honestly don't think you really want to that it's in. I'd rather use scarcity messaging there, which is like limited in stock or sells out frequently, or give me something else. Just tell me in stock is validating something I already assumed was true, right? So keep that in mind. Frame size. This is helpful. Candidly, again, I'm going to go back to it. This is paradox of choice right here. You're giving me so many options, like I don't even know where to begin. I'd much rather maybe when you click on the frame size dropdown, is have the first section that's like most popular and have like 4 options, and then have all the others. So for people who know specifically what they want, they can scroll down. But for the majority of users who are like, I don't know, you tell me, right? You give them the 4 most popular purchase in terms of sizes. I think that would be very helpful. Related products.
Also, those social product icons there are very they take the attention away from the add to cart. I don't think it's the right place for that. I mean, right now you're telling the user to do an action, right? So it can only be one action. You want them to add to cart. You don't want them to be going onto, Facebook or sharing this product right now. You just want them to be adding this to the cart.
Yep, right on. Another thing here is you have Craig frames as the actual image in the picture, right? You may want to actually have like a real image there of a family together, or a special, just something else.
Yeah,
right?
Something like this even, like a city, or
show the reality of it. You can still have the Craig frames one in there, but again, video would do really well, I think there. One thing I get picky on is you see where it says related products over to the right. Using the word related products just down a little bit right there is kind of a weak upsell. I'd much rather see something like complete the set, complete the bundle, things like that. Something with a little more intentionality behind it in the message structure, I think likely can do a lot better than just a generic like related products, or you may also like. It's not a very strong upsell. So just keep that in mind. Let's go ahead.
We have 5 more minutes. Let's try to do another website.
Okay.
I think we have here some jewelry.
Oh, jewelry. Yeah, jewelry is my top. All right. So let's go to mobile view. This is almost certainly mobile dominant. Okay, right out of the gates, we've got a lot of space optimization to work on here. I mean, the entire, I'd say 50% of your first frame is like, I'm trying to, help me describe this. I mean, look where the hero image is. You've got a massive.
It's a wasted space in a way,
Right.
because nobody is going to email you the moment that they go into your website. So you should start the website from here. Almost.
And the primary call to action I'm seeing here is subscribe to our newsletter, which we also don't want. And so there's heavy space optimization. Also, that image, with all due respect, I can't really see the jewelry very well. And here it's a totally opaque image. I don't see it at all. Those images are really tiny. So there's definitely some image optimization. Also, you don't need the word menu. You don't need a whole full width bar to say menu. You can just use a hamburger icon in the top left like the other sites did. It's intuitive. People know what a hamburger menu is. Also, the cart is oddly positioned. I would just redesign this entire, just with all due respect, this entire above the fold home section, right? To make it, if you go back to some of the other sites we looked at, like if you go to the Case Me one really quick, over to the far left. I think we had that on mobile view. Up, just the Case Me website. Yeah, right there. Yeah, scroll to the top on the homepage here. Yeah. So for the Jenna jewelry, I would use, this is solid, right? There's a lot of good things that I'm seeing here. I would use this as like your anatomical layout as an example based on the sites that we've looked at today. If you go back to the Jenna jewelry one, you'll see right away the difference. And you scroll up, just in terms of like the hierarchical order of elements up here. All of that can be done laterally. It doesn't have to be vertical. You'll save a lot of space. But let's go into shop now and see what we get here. Okay, interesting. Now, and I don't know, is this site entirely focused on bridal, or is bridal just a division? Because one thing I have noticed with female fashion or jewelry is that everyday usage and bridal consideration are two mutually exclusive paths when shopping. So when doing that, oftentimes you can use tab feature. So if you don't mind going to like Lulu's, Yao, can you just type into your browser bar lulus.com, Lulu? Lulu's, yeah. So they do a nice job with this. Yeah. So you see at the top where it says Lulu's, and then to the right it says Lulu's Weddings. Yeah, you got to X out of whatever that is. You might have to pull it out of inspect.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to come.
It might just be because it's in inspect mode, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Just click the X over to the very far right there on your.
Are you real?
Yeah, it's because you're in. It's going to do that because you're in the inspect mode. That's why. Yeah. Yeah, you may want to just click. See the X over underneath all bookmarks over in the very far right, top right of your browser. Yeah, click that X. Yeah, and then just refresh the page. Now you're out of inspect mode. There you go. So you see how it says Lulu's and then Lulu's Weddings at the top, and when you tab between those, they're almost two different sites. So for any of you that have like two mutually exclusive, so if you have a predominant like maybe even like B2B inquiry style or wholesale purchase, or in this case, if you've got regular.
Yeah, it's like a Banana Republic and Gap. It's like
exactly
it's
right.
The same website.
Exactly. So if you do, in this case, I've noticed this when there's buyer consideration paths, right? So as an example, when you're getting into things like weddings, I would keep it separate. So going back to the Jenna jewelry one, I don't know.
So I actually think we're at the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We could do, I mean, we're definitely, both Ned and I are happy to go on a one-to-one consultation with any of you, and we'll be sharing the recording of the webinar, and we'll be sharing with you our contact information. So don't worry about that. And if anyone needs an extra help, we're really here to help you out with that. I just wanted to see if we have any other important questions in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. While you're looking at that, on that note, if anyone's keen on me doing a custom audit for your site, please let me know. Reach out to my email. You'll see it on the chat here, and I'm happy to do that for you.
Okay, great. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Ned, thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure having you as our guest today. And we'll be doing a lot more of this probably in the new year, because I know everyone's going to be super busy in the next couple of months, just trying to really maximize all the traffic that you have coming throughout the holidays. It's not too late. I know Black Friday is only about a couple of weeks away, but it's really not too late to implement some of the tools that you've learned here today. It's definitely not too late to implement videos on your website. The Buy With team works very, very fast. So if this is something you're interested in, reach out to us, and we're happy to get on a one-to-one call and see how we can help out. So yeah, thanks everyone, and see you next time. Happy holidays.
Bye.